Hello, good evening. Hi, I'm JOELLE from Switzerland, and I am very honored and very excited to be here and to share with you tonight. And I've thought about the topic, looking back to move ahead, and it also made me think of looking down to move ahead, looking, what am I standing on? What am I building on to move ahead? When I step forward, what do I stand on? And I build on Jesus. And I build on his truths, on his fundamental truths. And sometimes I have to be reminded of those. And the Lord reminded me of one of those for this year to ponder on and to chew on. And because God is gracious, he also gave me some lessons with it to learn and to practice. And I would like to share about that with you. The verse he gave me is Proverbs 4:23, and it says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." And I knew that verse before. That was not new to me. But I heard it, and it made me go into the Bible and look into other verses that God gave us on the heart. And I realized there's a lot of them. God is really interested in our hearts. Our hearts really matter. And that is because God looks at the heart. He really does. And it's important and it matters, among other things, because it really influences what we do. And I realized through these situations that I can very willingly position my heart. The thing that it says in Proverbs 2, it says, guard your heart, and that really is a task. That is something that we do. That is not passive, but that is very active. Oh, thank you. And some situations that I came upon, I realized that very intentionally, I want to position my heart. I can decide what I let into my heart. I can decide what gets to influence my thoughts and my actions, and why I do what I do. And some of these situations might seem very familiar to you. Some of them you might know. And I just want to share a little bit on that with you. One of it was a disciple that I had, a young woman that I walked with for a bit more than 2 years. And she decided she wanted to pick another mentor, which is absolutely fine. And I talked with her about that. And we talked through it. And she went and looked for another mentor in the church. And it was all good. And I know 2 years is not super long, but it's still some time invested in someone. And I realized it did something to my heart. It did something where I realized I have to be very aware. Because I don't know if you can say that in English, but I didn't want to fall on either side of the horse. I didn't want to fall into being frustrated or angry or following in self-pity or basically anything that could turn into bitterness. I really knew I didn't want that. But also, I didn't want to be indifferent. I did want to care because I want to make disciples. That's what the Lord called us to do. And I want to love people. So I realized it took some very intentional decisions for me to really position my heart, to be aware, to be active. And what I wanted, basically it says in Ephesians 4:31, it says, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you." Which sounds maybe kind of extreme hearing it like that, but I know it starts in the little. And it really took me some very clear decisions to be loving and tender-hearted and really want the best for people. And then we had another situation where a girl came up to us, or a young woman came up to us at an event, and she wanted prayer because she really wanted witnesses and to make firm that she wants to go forward and encourage people and share her testimony. And we prayed for her, and 1 week later, it was like the perfect opportunity for her to do that. So we asked her, hey, do you want to share? And she said, oh, I'll think about it. And then a few days later, she was like, I really couldn't think of anything that I could share, so I'm not going to do it. And it got me a little frustrated, honestly, because it felt like she didn't push through, but it also felt like she was robbed very quickly. She was robbed very quickly of what she had, what she wanted. And I knew that we all need more chances. We all need several chances, and that I want to keep on loving, and I don't want to let any frustration of what I think people should do influence how I act towards them or how I come towards them. And there again, I realized I have to position my heart very willingly. How do I want to come towards people? How do I want to act with people? And another thing, another lesson the Lord gave me was with events that we organized. Probably a lot of you know that feeling. We put something together, and really not a lot of people show up. And I realized I was so close to frustration whenever that happened. But also, I wanted to remember to be faithful in little, because I know that's what the Lord called me to do, to be faithful in the little. And I also realized in all of that, that just because only a few people show up doesn't mean it is little. I have caught myself in the past few months in those situations thinking that more is better than few, and a larger event is a better event. But I came to realize that that is not true. And I really had to position my heart. How do I want to follow through with these things? Will I cherish the people that do come? Will I cherish the things that do happen? Because numbers do not define the quality of what I do. And numbers do not define my calling or my purpose. And the last situation that I had where I was reminded to intentionally position my heart and guard my heart was when we had an event with several people, and we decided to create letters of encouragement. We laid out papers for each person one and told people to go around and write down encouragements and verses and compliments. So each of them would go home with a letter of encouragements. And we did that, and I caught myself in the evening thinking, what will they write about me? And it made me think about what the people would think of me. And I realized that I very intentionally had to position my heart. And to think about, if all of these people write down, I'm very weird, and I don't like what you do, will I keep on doing what I do? Will I keep on doing what the Lord laid before my hands? If they write down, I'm not loving, that really is an issue that I should work on. But if they just write down, oh, I really don't like her, or I don't want to walk with her, if they don't support what I do, but I do know that's what the Lord called me to do, will I keep on walking? Will I keep on going forward? And the Lord made me think of that. And I know it doesn't matter what people think. I know that very well in my head. But in that moment, the Lord really, made me think of it again, made me think it through. What do I do if people don't approve? What do I do if people don't support what I do? Will I keep on walking? Will I keep on going forward? And it really made me think of, why do I do what I do? Who do I do it for? What is my attitude? And what is my conviction of heart in the things that I do? And in Luke 17, 7-10, it says it in a very clear, but also very challenging way. And I would like to read that to you. It says, "Would any of you say to your servant who had just come in from the field after plowing or tending sheep, 'Come, sit down for dinner'? Wouldn't you say instead, 'Fix my dinner, put on the clothes of a table servant, and wait on me while I eat and drink? After that, you can eat and drink.' You won't thank the servant because the servant did what you asked, will you? In the same way, when you have done everything required of you, you should say, 'We servants deserve no special praise. We have only done our duty.'" And I'm going to be really honest, I think that's very challenging. And usually when I read through that verse, I've read through it several times, usually the first thought that comes to my mind is, not even a thank you? And it's not that I obviously think, oh, people have to thank me. But then when I read it, I'm like, yeah, I kind of do want people to thank me sometimes. And I feel like maybe sometimes we're quickly at the point where we say, yeah, I'll do it, even without a thank you. But will I do it with all my heart, even without a thank you? How many thank yous or how many well done do I really need to do the Lord's calling with all my heart? So I'm working on that. And I realized whenever I get to the point where I can't position my heart in the way that I'm doing it just for the Lord, just because He told me to, it is so freeing. It is so amazing. But it's not easy to get my heart to that point because sometimes I don't think it's just given to us humans that we do it very easily just like that. But sometimes it's a challenge. But God is very patient and very merciful. And He's the one that can help our heart. He's the one that said He will give us new hearts, or He will position our hearts if we need that. But I just want to ask you again, why do you do what you do? Who do you do it for? And I want to read that verse of Luke 17 again. "Would any of you say to your servant who had just come in from the field after plowing or tending sheep, 'Come, sit down for dinner'? Wouldn't you say instead, 'Fix my dinner, put on the clothes of a table servant, and wait on me while I eat and drink? After that, you can eat and drink.' You won't thank the servant because the servant did what you asked, will you? In the same way, when you have done everything required of you, you should say, 'We servants deserve no special praise. We have only done our duty.'" And I do believe that God will give us everything we need. He did promise us our reward, but we're not called to work on thank yous. So I want to finish with the words of Colossians 3:23 and 24. Maybe as a reminder, maybe just as an encouragement. But it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for people, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Amen.